Hello, and welcome to our lesson on the Columbian Exchange. European exploration was sparked by a want for luxury goods and a sense of adventure. Originally, trade had to either go across land via dangerous long-distance routes, or it would go overseas and was regulated by Islamic merchants and other Eastern-located trade ports. The writings of Marco Polo back in the 1400s stimulated an interest in trade. Marco Polo described his encounters with things like stones that catch fire, gunpowder, and other important Chinese technologies that the West had never seen, but really wanted to have. When the Byzantine Empire was taken over by the Ottomans in 1453, there was a temporary decline in trade via the overland route. New incentives were created in the West to find a route to the East, and more specifically, people wanted a water route that could carry large amounts of goods and offer more protection than land travel could. The Renaissance spirit of inquiry also helped inspire this new generation of Europeans to explore oceans more. They adopted technology during this time, like the triangular sail and other navigational techniques that will help them actually be able to pull this kind of long-distance travel off. Spain and Portugal, as we have discussed previously, were the first to start exploring in earnest. They are positioned well next to the Mediterranean and the Atlantic Ocean, and they are some of the only countries wealthy enough to afford this kind of undertaking. Spain's rulers, Ferdinand and Isabella, had just completed the Reconquista of Spain. Basically, they kicked all non-Christians out of their country. So Muslim and Jewish Spaniards had to pack up and leave everything behind. Spain's hope was to further this Christian movement by spreading Christianity to the east and create favorable trade alliances. Prince Henry the Navigator of Portugal is the man who really enabled the technology people needed in Europe to happen through his naval school. They even created a lighter boat that would be able to sail longer distances because you could load more supplies in it and didn't have to worry about it sinking. As we also have discussed previously, Christopher Columbus will sail for the Spanish to help find a new route to the east. But instead, he hits the Bahamas. He takes with him 3 ships funded by Ferdinand and Isabella, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. His discovery, a word I use very lightly here, provided new sources of wealth and raw materials that would forever change the economy of Europe. All their money they gain from having overseas colonies shows a clear domino effect for the European dominance during the next 400 years that will occur. Columbus's encounter with the peoples of the Americas led to an important exchange of products and ideas. Basically, Europe gets a lot of really great foods, and the New World gets some okay food and animals and then massive amounts of disease, and European overlords to enslave them. The European diet will be greatly improved by New World foods that are more caloric, like tomatoes, corn, potatoes, pepper, squash, pineapples, and chocolate. So yeah, all great foods. And what I mean by caloric, that means that they can get more calories out of these foods, so they actually can eat less food and their bodies are able to do more work. So they do get one new animal in Europe that they didn't have before, and that will be the turkey. The other major good being brought from the Americas to Europe is tobacco. I think John Green's episode about the Columbian Exchange is his best episode. In it, he describes that tobacco is the New World's greatest revenge against European colonization. It's addictive, expensive, and ultimately kills you. So long term, it's a pretty great source of revenge. Some goods brought to the New World from the Old World would be things like wheat, sugar, cattle, horses, pigs, sheep, chickens, and some other grains that would just help you feed those kinds of animals. I really like this map of all the goods traded between the hemispheres. It gives you a better idea of just how much people were missing out on, but also how much humans have changed our environments. We've planted crops where they didn't belong and have caused a lot of ecological damage because of this. Okay, let's switch gears here. For the rest of the episode, we'll talk about some of the other major explorers that will come after Columbus. Most of these explorers accomplished way more than Columbus did during his expeditions, but since he was the first one, he seems to get a lot more credit and remembrance. The first explorer we will discuss is Vasco de Gama. De Gama was a Portuguese explorer that it discovered an all-water route to Europe from Asia. He's the one we focused on in our last episode, and his discovery is important because it takes the Islamic merchants out of the equation and establishes a way for Europeans to have a direct trade route to the east. He'll also be exhaling and exploring quite a bit longer than Columbus, so he's able to perfect this route pretty easily. Our next explorer is also Portuguese, and he will lead the first expedition of ships to circumnavigate, or go all the way around, the globe in 1519. He will sail around South America across the Pacific Ocean and will prove indisputably that the Earth was indeed round, which basically any educated person during this time period already knew. Magellan, unfortunately, did not live to see the other side of the world, and he will die coming into Asia on his voyage, but his crew made it back to tell the tale. England, France, and Holland send their own explorers to the New World. You will notice, though, that all of their colonies will be in North America. This will be true for a few different reasons. The first being that England, France, and Holland were not positioned like Spain and Portugal were, with their naval technology, to be ready for this kind of long-distance sailing. They had to go through the process of making these large ships, whereas Spain and Portugal already had them. And once Spain and Portugal staked out land, the others knew they couldn't go there. One major difference between those that settle in North America, so basically England, France, and Holland, versus those that settle primarily in South America, Spain and Portugal, is that the ones going to North America are actually sending real citizens to go settle that area and live there permanently. In South America, the Europeans are not staying there long term. And if they are staying, they're mostly soldiers who don't have families to bring with them. We will talk more about the effects of these population differences in a later episode. Anyways, back to John Cabot. He is a famous British explorer who claims their early territories in North America, mostly along the East Coast. He really doesn't go too far inland, so think about the first 3 or 4 original colonies. The big idea for North American explorers was trying to go inland and find a water route that cut through this giant landmass they had found. By this point, circumnavigation had occurred, and they were looking for a faster way to do that didn't take them through Spanish waters. Henry Hudson was an Englishman who ended up sailing for Holland. He went to the New World to find a shortcut to the east, but instead mostly just explored the New York area. The Hudson River and Hudson Bay are named after him. There are also some famous French explorers worth talking about. Cartier will explore Canada and enter into the Great Lakes region. The French set up fur trades in this region that will be lucrative for centuries to come. And La Salle, who was the first to make it all the way down the Mississippi River, is also an important French explorer. He is one of the reasons places like Louisiana have a strong French influence as the French set up colonies and ports along their travels. As you can see, the Columbian Exchange marks a crucial time for world history. It sparks mass exchange of goods and peoples and initiates the direct path for why we are the way we are today. We will explore topics like this in later episodes. Thanks for watching.